Hey, Dad, it's May 26th. Ready for episode 43 of the podcast?
I'm ready. What are we talking about?
SEC in the Big Ten. Ready?
SEC and the Big Ten. Let's break it down then.
Let's mix it up. Let's
Let's.
do it.
All right.
Okay. So, in the post Jimbo Nick Saban feud battle, I think the biggest thing surrounding the SEC and the Big Ten is the schedule format changes.
Yeah, that's on the horizon when the new team join.
That's the biggest thing that has been solidified, I would say.
Okay. Okay.
They already committed that they will be changing. As we all know, Texas and Oklahoma will be joining the SEC at the latest by 2025. Could be earlier than that. Um, so with them adding two more teams, they'll have 16 teams, and the SEC is trying to figure out if they want to go one of two different routes.
Okay.
Either a a one constant, either a
1-7.
eight games conference schedule with one constant rival,
Okay.
or a 9 game conference schedule with three constant rivals,
Okay.
and then the rotation.
Okay. So there would be one one team that would be on your schedule permanently, and then the other seven would alternate each year. You would do these seven one year, and then the other group of seven the next year.
Yeah.
That is the eight conference game format, and
And
then there's go ahead.
well, just to mention, the benefit of doing it the 8 conference game schedule and not the 9 is theoretically, if a person was to stay for 4 years, they would have the opportunity to go to every single SEC road stadium.
Okay.
So that I think that's like one of the big reasons they wanted to do that. Now, if they went with the 9 conference game format, that opportunity would not be available because the three stagnant. There would be three opponents that they would play every single year, and
Okay. Okay. So they would have three team would be on their schedule permanently every year, and then they would play the other 12 team. They would play six of them this year, and the other six next year. Uh, it looks like they would all get to make the trip, but I don't know. I haven't done the math to it, but I do know. What do you favor, JJ? A nine game conference schedule or 8 game conference schedule?
You know, I think the 9 game conference schedule would just be more chaotic because it's then you have like the pod system kind of one team and three other teams that are all together. I think that would be more chaotic just because I don't think you can equally distribute that. Like I'm not sure how you would actually do that. I think some of them would fit better than others. I
I
think
agree.
Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M, and Arkansas. Three former Southwest Conference foes in Oklahoma. I think that one is a cohesive fit. But I don't think it works so easily when you get to the South Carolinas, the Kentuckys, the Vanderbilts.
Yeah.
A lot of schools that don't have like natural rivals or
Ge- ge- geographical rivals that are actual rivals.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, my thing about the 9 game schedule, to me, the advantage is that you get to play more conference games. You're gonna have more. You're gonna have fewer of these rent-a-win games. You have at least one fewer rent-a-win game.
Yeah.
Uh, my only
But
go ahead.
that also leads to one more loss for half of the
Potential.
conference.
Okay, true and true. Uh, for me, I prefer I prefer the eight conference game format, and the reason I do is because I think it would be more equal. Because if you get a team that's really down, and they're in your one of your if you're paying the three permanent teams, and a team is really down, or two teams are really down, you have an unfair built-in advantage.
Yeah, I saw a proposal. For instance, just to piggyback off that, I saw one where Tennessee would potentially be matched up with geographic rival Vandy, geographic rival Kentucky, and I can't remember what the other team was, but
South Carolina.
maybe. But even so, I mean, that you're setting Tennessee up on a tee for that one.
Yeah. That's I like the idea of you getting to play every school at least every other year. Because currently with the 14 team format, they're not. they're going more than 1 year without playing a team.
Yeah.
And with this one, they would be playing every team in the conference in a 2 year time period. I like that idea. So you said you agree that the you like the eight conference schedule better.
As an Arkansas fan, I would prefer that. I saw some scenarios which they would match up Arkansas with potentially LSU, potentially Missouri. There's a lot of bordering states that I'd be fine with. I think it would be like more interesting for like chaotic reasons, like the nine conference
Yeah.
game schedule. But
Don't forget Arkansas could potentially be maxed up with Oklahoma. Because I'm thinking Texas and Texas A&M going to be matched up. But Texas want to keep Oklahoma.
I think Texas would want to keep Oklahoma. I think Texas. I mean, they have the bigger rivalry. The Red River rivalry is.
I know who Alabama would want. They would want.
Who are they?
They would want Texas A&M every year.
Yeah.
Every year, but neither. That's just that's the first issue we talked about is the potential SEC schedule format with 16 teams.
And so transition to the next topic. Another thing that was in the news recently was Greg Sankey spoke to Pete Thamel with ESPN about the potential for the SEC if they don't like the way that talks go when it comes to playoff expansion and things of that nature. They could go off by themselves and have their own little contained tournament.
You know what? I think it's good to keep that on the table.
Absolutely.
There's advantages and disadvantages to that.
Yeah, there are.
I think, and I don't know this for a fact. One of the advantages I think would be money. I think they would have the potential to make more money in a tournament where you have more teams in the tournament. But you know what? It's so new. You don't know what the reaction would be for fans from other conferences. Would they still want to watch high-level college football players?
I think a high number of them would, just off principle alone, would boycott it.
True, I think that's true. But the question is how long. And I remember doing a study when I was analyst with the state of Michigan. When people increased prices, there was like a 20% negative impact in the number of participants the first year. But after the third year, that has come back to the norm. So I don't know if that would be true with sports viewership or not.
Yeah, I mean, that is something to consider. People's reactions, emotional reactions can fade over time. But I did look at the demographics of who's actually watching college football, and though it's dominant in the South, there's so many major markets like Chicago. Like there's so many like markets that don't have an SEC program involved that I think the reason Greg Sankey said that out loud and was because he doesn't have any intention of doing that at this time. When he went and got Texas and Oklahoma, he didn't say that out loud first. Like we should have had Texas and Oklahoma. He just went and did it and let the fallout be what it was. So I have a feeling that it's tough talk, but it also there is a bit of a threat there that
So do you think that I just can't comprehend college football in this normal day-to-day course staying with a 4-team tournament.
It's not going to.
I just can't either. So if they do expand the playoff, there would be no need for the SEC to do this. But if they were to keep it like it is, say like vote to keep it for the next 10 years, then I say go rogue.
I say I do too. I would find that very, very interesting because you'd have a lot of teams that are used to winning and having success, and half of the conference would have to be the bottom half of the conference. So that would be very interesting for me from like a neutral observer. I would definitely. I mean, outside of Arkansas, I'm not like one of those. I'm not an SEC fan. I'm an Arkansas fan. I don't like root for the conference. So to someone who's perfectly fine with anarchy and chaos, I want to see SEC. I want to see the SEC do it. I would love to see it happen. Well, I also think it would be an opportunity for Michigan to.
Well, if they stay with a 4-team format, I would say do it. That's just me.
Well, all the conferences, I think, before they found out about the Oklahoma-Texas thing, were in favor of expanding the playoff. I think once they found out that the SEC was operating independent of them, I think there's a distrust there, and they didn't want to make any drastic decisions. While
I think the biggest distrust came from the Big Ten and the Pac-12, uh, because I had read something where the Big 12 actually was in favor of the expansion.
well, yeah, they'd have. I mean, yeah, they need the expansion because who's the Big 12's tentpole
Yeah.
university right now?
Yeah.
All right, so
Well,
moving on.
okay, I'm just going to get the biggest one. Is the cons of going rogue would be that it would be so regional and it would create isolation
Oh yeah.
for the conference. But okay, that's the only thing I want to mention now. What's next on the agenda?
Okay, so other than that, I think another major story was MSU's athletic director was asked about conference realignment, and he said that it was inevitable and it was only a matter of time. So that makes me wonder, what do you think he was talking about? Was he talking about like following the Pac-12's route to eliminate divisions? Or was he talking about adding another couple of teams? What do you think MSU's AD was
I think he
referencing?
was talking about eliminating divisions.
Yeah. That one.
And you know what? And
And
go ahead.
for Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, I mean, I think they would be very much in favor of eliminating divisions. I think Iowa and Wisconsin, maybe less so.
When we discussed the SEC scheduling format, that to me was without divisions, because you're going to have 7 teams or else 6 teams, depending on what format you go. You're going to play them all each year. It wouldn't be planned by divisions. You're just going to play those schools.
Yeah.
So, the Big Ten will be eliminating divisions pretty soon as well. I believe.
Yeah. And they would have to, like, schools like Michigan would have to preserve both of their rivals, Ohio State and Michigan State, if they were to do that. So I would be more in favor of like a three.
Well, right now they only have 14
Yeah,
teams.
so it wouldn't be
they-
3-6. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be as. Yeah.
So there's a lot of options available to them. There's a lot of options available to them. But would you prefer, JJ, to eliminate divisions, or would you prefer another seismic shakeup of conferences, teams in certain conferences?
Well, as someone who lives in the Big Ten country and who has a little bit more of allegiance to the Big Ten, I want to see them do well. I would say I want them to go after conferences or teams that could add to the conference first. You can shake up the divisions and you can do you can do that whenever you want to. The most important thing is getting the teams out there that exist that would be a net positive.
What is it that the Big Ten can do to get that team in South Bend to say, "I do"?
I was thinking Houston. I honestly forgot about Notre Dame. I think that when Notre Dame joins a conference, I think they're going to join the ACC. I think that they've already, if they ever press where they need to join a conference, I think that they've already made it clear they're going to go the route of the ACC, which I think is good for them. But I honestly don't know what the Big Ten.
So Houston would come into the Big 12 and then 5 years later get out?
Yeah, if a better opportunity came along,
Okay.
I I do believe.
And I don't discount the idea of Nebraska getting out of the Big Ten, but
To go
money,
where?
money talks.
Where would Nebraska go?
They could go to the SEC.
Hey, by all means,
mean,
they can. I would. I would give it to them.
But I'm saying I don't think Nebraska is a good fit for the Big Ten. That's my take on it.
I don't think so either, but I think that they'd be a worse fit for the SEC.
I don't. But
Okay.
but I don't think Nebraska would give up the money unless they had some huge guaranteed money. So I don't think they will actually go anywhere. But I don't think they've actually. If you take the money out of the equation, I don't think they've been happy with the Big Ten. Although I did see.
The Big Ten's been happy with them either.
I did see indication that their football team is going to be a lot better this coming season and more competitive.
I saw the Vegas over/under. They somehow had them at 7.5 wins when Scott Frost hasn't been bowl eligible once at all, and they just lost their quarterback. But Vegas didn't build all those.
I haven't looked at all the transfer polls and thing, but I'm going to keep my eye on Nebraska because I have a feeling that their time is coming. I think they were better than their record was last year. They lost some close games last year.
Yeah, they had one of the best point differentials in the Big Ten, but I mean I don't know. They had. I think that's more a reflection of their coaching, specifically special teams. But that's more than enough talk about Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah, Was there anything else you want to talk about?
Uh, well, we talked about divisions, eliminating divisions. We talked about uh, Michigan State's AD. We talked about the scheduling format. We talked about the SEC potentially going rogue, whatever. I think that's a pretty good discussion.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little short episode, but I
Okay.
think
Hey, if you're out there listening, make sure you leave a comment and let us know what you think about the scheduling format or the SEC going rogue. Or, we didn't mention the Big Ten potential contract coming up. You did mention that, didn't you?
oh,
Slightly.
that is a good point. There is the Big Ten's contract ends in 2023,
The
and
TV
their
contract.
TV contract with Fox and ESPN. It ends in 2023, and there's a lot of speculation that they could get a contract bigger than what the SEC's current contract is, just by virtue of pretty much it's like in the NFL, every free agent class, every year like someone signs like the biggest contract in history. So just by virtue of the timing, but what I've read is ESPN would probably be unwilling to offer them a substantial increase because of the amount of money that they've invested in the SEC.
Okay.
So if the Big Ten was to do something, partner with Amazon, maybe, double down with Fox, maybe potentially try something with Netflix. I've heard Netflix has been trying to get into football, live football broadcasting. They
I
could
hope it don't
potentially.
go to Netflix because then I wouldn't be able to see the game. But that's just
Or
my
you'd
own
have to
self.
get Netflix.
That's my selfish perspective.
But that's exactly my point. Would it be more beneficial to get more money on the front end with a higher contract, with potential less visibility, leaving the worldwide leader, or would you just take a contract that includes ESPN maybe for a little bit less money?
Hey, take the money. I always say take the money.
That's what I would do too.
But this is my thought on where college football is going.
Mm-hmm.
College football is going to a two conference power. You talk about the Power Five now. It's going to become a Power Two because that's where all the money is going to be. The Pac-12, the money in the Pac-12 and the Big 12 is so much less than it is in the Big 10 and the SEC.
Half of the Big 12's money is Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah, yeah. They're the ACC, the Pac-12, the Big 12. They're going to be the little three, and there's going to be the Big Two.
Well,
That's
for that to be true, the Big Ten would have to keep up in the arms race, and they'd have to acquire some teams, maybe not on the same level as the Texas or Oklahoma, but I mean it might just be a big one. SEC, I mean Greg Sankey himself said they could just go rogue, and it's stranger things have happened. The Premier League in soccer used to be like a bunch of different conferences, and then a few teams just got pointed up and said, we don't need the small schools.
Well, that's possible, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be the Big
I
Two.
don't think so either.
But let me ask you this question, JJ. I know we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
What would happen, rather than becoming adversary? What would happen if the Big Ten and the SEC linked up?
If that were to happen, you'd have USC, Oregon, Florida State, and Clemson, and North Carolina, like beating down the door, because those are the programs.
Yeah.
Which, it's weird to put UNC in there, but they are. It's true. With the population growth of Carolina,
Yeah.
those are the programs that outside of the Big Ten and SEC have weight. USC, I would say UCLA too, but those are the schools that really have weight right now, and I think that they'd be scrambling.
Yeah, and I don't see that happening in the near future, but man, anything can happen in the distant future. So keep your eyes open on everything. JJ, we're gonna get out of here. Leave us a comment, give us a like. See you next time. WPS. We'll pig suey.
Who dat?
All right then.